Call to order the city council meeting for the city of Fulton, April 28, 2025. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Here.
Alderperson Banker, Boonstra,
Here.
Brondike, Bergerath,
Here.
Mask, here, Van Campen,
Here.
Wilkin.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Derek.
I would just like to thank and recognize the outgoing alderpersons, Paul Banker and Jeff Brondike, who are not here tonight. And also thank you to Mayor Pro Tem Keith King for filling in for the past 5 months. The service you guys have provided for the community is be felt for a long time, and we wish you all the best. Keith will be returning as 3rd Ward Alderman again.
Okay, we gotta swear in Mayor Steve Malone and Alderperson, 4th Ward Alderperson. Yeah.
Shane.
Huh? Shane? Did I say?
Steve, his name is Chan. Shane.
Yeah, I do that every
Too
time.
many grandkids.
That's
Too many grandkids.
Barb knows.
I'm sorry, Shane.
Shane.
I don't know why I said that.
Okay.
I'm on Shane too, so it's been really confusing.
Just raise your right hand. It's oath of office. I, Shane Michael Malone, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of mayor for the city of Fulton to the best of my ability.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And 2 signatures, and then I will notarize again, okay?
All right. Come on up.
Mayor should
Are you gonna do hers first?
do hers next.
Thank you, Keith.
Let's keep Kathy. Kathy Sewell, 4th Ward, Alderperson. I, Kathleen Sewell, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Alderperson for the city of Fulton to the best of my ability.
Yes.
Congratulations. I'll have you sign and then Kathleen's for your papers.
Send it to Kat.
I need you to sign.
Another one?
So I can have one for Kyle, one for you. Now we have re-elected members that need to be sworn in as well. So we'll start with Mindy, Amanda. I, Amanda S. Bergerath, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Alderperson for the city of Fulton to the best of my ability.
I will. Sorry.
So you could have one in your own, file. I will notarize them. Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have re-election of Alderperson Sue Van Campen from 3rd Ward. I, Susan Campen, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of alderperson for the city of Fulton to the best of my ability. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, now you need to read this.
Now I will swear in Tori, but I'm gonna come around.
Okay.
All right, raise your right hand, please. I, Tori Wade, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of city clerk for the city of Fulton to the best of my ability.
Yes, I will.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're it.
All right.
It's official.
All right, I'll just say a quick thanks for everyone that came out, even the new electees and Keith for filling in. Like, I see the town's flourishing for the past few months, so thank you to all of you and all the support I've been given coming into the seat for the past month or so. All right, presentation, Eric has intro on a Zoom meeting here. It's from Northern Illinois University. It's a virtual presentation, a comprehensive and strategic plan for the city of Fulton.
So this is the second one we're looking at?
Yes.
Here. Thank you.
It's not working, Terry. Breakers in that door over there.
Somebody's thumbs got off.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Grandma.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, nice meeting everyone.
By the way, Shane's family brought cookies. They're at that
Yes,
table if you'd
yeah.
like some. They look good. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
What's that?
We have to stay the whole meeting to get the cookie.
Mel, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay, Ally?
I gotta turn you up here one. Okay, try again.
There we go.
Not yet.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. You can hear us now?
Yes.
Great. I came in right at the end when someone said, thanks, Grandma. It was very sweet. Allie, you let us know whenever you're ready for us to get started, or if you need to take a little bit of time, you tell us when you're ready to go and we'll pull up our presentation.
No, I think we're all ready unless you wanted to say something there. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll get the presentation pulled up and we'll get started. Well, thank you everyone for having us. I know you had some people getting sworn in tonight, so congratulations for everybody who was sworn in and is starting an exciting new time in Fulton, it sounds like, and doing a strategic and comprehensive plan. Whether you choose one or both, I think it's an amazing time with some new people coming on, both administrative and council-wise. So thanks for hearing from us, and hopefully we can give you some insight. I want to say this is a presentation, but it's informal in the sense that if you have questions along the way, please feel free to ask us. We'll also have some questions at the end, but anytime something resonates with you, please feel free to kind of ask us any questions about that. So I'll get us started and share a little bit about myself and the team, and then we'll jump right in and go from there. But I'm Mel Henriksen. I'm an assistant director for our strategic management team here at the Center for Governmental Studies. If you've never heard of us, I know some of you have, because I was lucky enough to have one of my first jobs 15 years ago working with Fulton when I came here. But the center's been around for 54 years working on projects just like this. We're here to build capacity in the region. So organizational studies, comprehensive planning, strategic planning, tourism development, everything you can think of, we're here to kind of help with that. A big part of NIU's outreach branch, it's really important to NIU to not only be teaching future, city managers and future lawyers, all the artists, everything, but to also be here to help implement things in the community. So I'm going to share a little bit. Sorry, we're hearing kind of an echo coming through. Can you guys still hear us okay?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll work through any technical difficulty. Don't worry about that. But so our team here for strategic planning, we have 35 plus people working at the Center for Governmental Studies. So we have a lot of different people backing us up through data and other analysis. So we didn't want to bring everybody on the team here right today, but we do have with us, besides myself, two very experienced comprehensive planners. I'm going to let them introduce themselves before we jump in. So Mim, if you want to share a little bit about yourself, and then Todd, and we'll go from there.
Sure. My name is Mim Evans, and thank you so much for inviting us into your meeting this evening. My background is in urban planning. I've been with the center for 12 years now and have enjoyed working in communities all across northern and central Illinois. And I have primarily been doing economic development work and comprehensive planning. Before being a consultant here at CGS, I was the executive director for a downtown revitalization nonprofit for 8 years. Enjoyed that tremendously. And a small town downtown like what you have in Fulton is just very exciting. And I would love to get the opportunity to help you with that as well. Before that, I worked with a consulting firm where our focus was on market analysis and financial feasibility for all kinds of real estate problems. So I like to think that gives me a very pragmatic and realistic perspective on what can be done and how you can get there. So Todd, would you like to introduce yourself?
Great. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Mim. My name is Todd Vanatalock. I'm an urban planning consultant. I've been planning across Illinois and across the nation since 2001, so about 24 plus years, thereabouts. And I've actually done quite a bit of comprehensive planning throughout the region, or throughout the state, actually. I have about 20, maybe close to 24, either comprehensive plans or land use plans. They kind of go hand in hand. So definitely a lot of experience. I've partnered a lot with Mel and Mim on comprehensive planning and strategic plans, particularly in small towns, just like Fulton. So we really enjoy working with small towns just because, or for me personally, I actually grew up in a small town almost the size of Fulton. It was Nashville, Illinois, in southern Illinois, in Washington County. And it's less than 4,000 people, and I believe that's roughly the same population as Fulton, under 4,000. So it reminds me of home. I was actually on a map looking at Fulton, and it really reminded me of where I grew up, minus the river. But I think we're really excited about this opportunity and to present what we can bring to Fulton.
Thank you, Todd and Mim. And so we're very cognizant of your time. We want to keep it within the time frame and still be able to share what we have going on today. We obviously have the ability to do both the comprehensive and the strategic planning process, but we also recognize that as an organization, you're deciding what this is going to look like right now. So we want to share with you both the comprehensive plan process in itself, along with the strategic planning process, and then just wrap it up a little bit, sharing about what the benefits of doing both of the processes together are. And so that way you have kind of full information and can decide which, avenue is going to work best for you as an organization with a lot of new members, new administration kind of moving forward. So our process today is going to be just to talk about the comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, talk about why they're important together, and then a little bit about why NIU CGS might be a kind of a unique opportunity to partner together. So I'm going to turn it over and let Mim's team talk a little bit about the comprehensive plan, and then we'll come back together towards the end.
So you might be wondering why we do comprehensive plans. And you see there on the screen before you covers of a number of the comprehensive plans we've completed just in the last few years. Well, the way we got into doing comprehensive plans is really quite relevant to what you have going on in Fulton itself. We were doing economic development planning in a number of small communities for many, many years. And that was kind of our niche, was to do that economic development piece. And one of the first things that I would ask for when I went into a new community was if I could see their comprehensive plan to give me some idea how they envision growing, where they wanted growth to occur, and what the general opportunities were within their community. And nearly every time the response was, we don't have a comprehensive plan, or our comprehensive plan is 20 years old. So after coming across this situation over and over again, we felt at CGS that there was an opportunity for us to provide a service to the smaller communities by helping out with these comprehensive plans. So that's how we got going in this, and it's really been a wonderful experience. Now, next slide. So I want to talk just briefly about the overall process, but then I want to quickly move away from that. This is probably steps that you would see with virtually any planning professional who came in and said they were going to do a comprehensive plan for you, starting with collecting information about your community, both economic and demographic data, but also inventorying what was going on the ground. We like to do that by having someone on your staff take us for a great tour and drive us around, spend the day really showing us everything, helping us getting to know your community. Then there always is a large community input effort that comprises a lot of different methods of having people participate in the process. And from there, the consultants, along with members of the community, whether it's your staff or your officials or volunteers, develops ideas that will go into the plan, resulting in vision, goals, and objectives that are the framework that hold up that plan. And from there, developing a future land use plan, which is the centerpiece, is the map, which shows you where you'd like to have different things occur and how much of each you really want to have. And then finally, moving on to implementation, which can be a lot or can be a little. Our perspective is if there's not a strong implementation piece, then the plan is not terribly useful. So we put a lot of effort into that particular piece. And what I'd like to do now, when we go on to the next slide, though, is move away from these basic pieces and try to explain where we differ from some other folks who could provide you with a comprehensive plan, or some of the things that we think are more interesting about the comprehensive planning process. So we're not going to go through all the nuts and bolts of some of those other things that I'm sure you've heard before. So I want to talk about community input. Todd's going to join me in a minute to tell you about some of the other ways that we do community input. We do a lot of this traditional things. We recommend a resident survey. We recommend either a business survey or business focus groups. We do focus groups for whatever groups we especially need to reach out to. We'll do interviews in the community. We're going to do all that. But we wanted to talk a little bit about the roles of two particular different kinds of folks in your community. The first is a task force, and you can see a picture there of another community where we were just recently wrapped up their plan. A task force of approximately 20 people that represent a cross-section of your community. And these folks have a very important role. they should be diverse. They should represent the different perspectives in your community. And we're going to get to know them much better so we can get much more detail on what, say, an elderly resident is thinking, or young folks are thinking, or people who are renters or homeowners or whatever. This diverse group is just the best tool that we have found for having really in-depth conversations. And we'll work with them through the whole process. They're going to help develop the vision, goals, and objectives with a lot of the information that we share with them, things like the community survey or business perspective. They assist with project outreach. If we're having an event and we want to get a good turnout, we can turn to these folks and say, please reach out to all of your contacts, your family, your friends, your coworkers, whatever, and encourage them to come. And boy, that helps a lot when someone local that they know says, please come to this meeting or whatever. They will review and comment on draft documents, the future land use plan, the final draft plan of the whole thing. Their comments are important. And finally, we find at the end of the meetings with them, and we generally meet with them 4 times, they are so invested in this plan and so enthusiastic that they are sorry to see the process end, and they are ready to help with implementation. So you've got a built-in group of volunteers who are ready to step in and help you make that transition from planning to implementation. So we really think they're great, and we look forward every community to getting to know those folks. And we work with you on putting that task force together. Now, if you should decide you don't like the task force approach, we have done it other ways in other communities, just working with staff and elected officials, that works too. But the task force really, I think, is something extra. So if we have the task force, what is the role of the other folks, you more official folks sitting there in the room tonight? We will meet early on with your council, your board, whoever you feel should be involved to learn about the priorities that the elected and staff officials have for this plan, what they would like to see. We'll meet with you again, interim, provide reports to keep you abreast of what is going on. You'll have the opportunity to review the draft plan. Then there are some official roles. There has to be a public hearing, which is, I imagine, would be held by your planning and zoning board. And then that public hearing results in a recommendation to your city council to adopt the plan. So those are the official roles that you folks have, but we will be working with you all the way throughout. That bottom picture there is another example of a plan that we did in another community. This was a joint meeting of their plan commission and village board of trustees. They said it was the first time they had ever met together, the two groups, and actually had a discussion together about the future of their community. Found it very, very valuable. So now I'm going to turn it over to Todd, who's going to talk about some of the other tools we have in our toolbox for community input.
Great, thank you, ma'am. So in addition to whether or not you engage a task force, and we definitely will engage your elected officials, but one great way to engage your overall community is not only just meeting with them if we have opportunities to do that in person, but we also realize that people are very busy and they don't have time to always go to meetings and such. But one way that people do like to get involved is online. That way they can share their thoughts, get to know the process, or get to know more about the project at their own pace and at their own time, whether that's at home or even sometimes they can just do it whenever they're in line and do it on their phone. So one thing that we like to do for all our projects is create a project website. So it's basically a one-stop shop online where people can learn not only about just general background about the process, but they can track the process. So you can see on the left-hand side of the slide, you can see a timeline, or not really a timeline, but a schedule of things so that they know where we are in the process. And then other things that we have on the website is if there's links to existing documents that they can look at, existing plans that you have, and maybe your zoning code or any existing maps. And then when we have interim documents that are ready to share with the overall public, we post those so that people can review it if there's an upcoming open house or a way for them to comment on interim documents as well. For example, this is a website we created for Village of East Dundee in suburban Chicago. And this was a landing page where people can either engage with the strategic plan part of the process or the comprehensive plan of the process, and there's clickable links so that it can go to either of those processes. And then I think on the next slide, I'm not sure. Yeah, so this is an example of one way that, or a few different ways people can get engaged. So one thing that we like to do in addition to community survey, which can be both online, mostly online, but we also realize that if you have senior residents in your population who aren't as tech savvy, or just people who just prefer a paper survey, we can definitely have a few paper surveys on hand to complement the online survey. But on the left-hand side is enough people can engage. This is a comment map. It's basically a Google map where people can basically put a pin on an intersection or a street and say, provide any comment they like. So if there's a vacant property and someone might say like, I would really love this to be a dog park, or this would be a great place for an ice cream shop or something like that. The nice thing about this comment map is that it melds two things that people are familiar with. One thing is people are really familiar with Google Maps. They can zoom in and out, they can pan around, find the property that they want to comment on. And then the other side is commenting. So it's similar to like Facebook or any social media where people can not only post a comment, but they can like or dislike someone else's comments, just so that we can get a sense of what people agree with or disagree with about what your neighbors or your fellow residents might be saying. So people actually really like this format just because people can really engage it at their own, again, at their own time and at their own pace, but they can also see what their neighbors are saying as well. And then on the right-hand side is if you really want us to help you promote the process, the project, we can definitely create some printable flyers or postcards that you can leave around town. You can leave it at Village Hall or City Hall, or you can put it at the library or any place. You can even give them to local businesses. You want to put flyers in their windows. So if that's something that you want to pursue, that's something we can definitely create for you to help promote the process. And then the last engagement slide that we have is we do realize that a lot of times when you have meetings or engage people, most of them are people like us, we're adults. This is stuff that we do and are involved with, but we do want to hear about the perspectives from people, the youth.
Same circuit that the air conditioning's on.
You can shut our camera off and it'll
Shut our camera?
Yeah, they just won't be able to see us.
Air conditioner ain't working. Yes, we just talked about doing this. This is the second one that we.
They have no internet.
The first one, so that.
It's in the plan.
This is the second one. They kind of like it when it's in. This one is different. So much more undetailed, of course.
Pretty much a whole block,
Secondary.
pretty much our whole block was there, and then it's just yesterday.
I can take.
Any more agendas back here?
As a community person. I can tell this. Sophisticated. I do these in my workplace for years.
We're not participating at the level that we would like, then we can design something that is unique to them. It might not be exactly the same as that, although they have their celebrity favorites too. It might be something completely different. But the point is that rather than just doing the survey and then having an open house or a community meeting and seeing who shows up, we want to really give this some thought and work with you. Who do we need to get to? And what are some unique and fun ways that we can bring the community into the project? So once we've got all this community input, then it's time to come up with that community framework, the vision, goals, and objectives. But to do that, we need to develop some ideas of what Fulton can be, and where those ideas come from and how those are developed really is going to set the tone for your plan. And we like to take all the usual stuff, all that economic and demographic data that we picked up, and all the inventory information and everything we've seen around town and the survey results and all the community input and all of that. But we like to go beyond that because we think that your community and the way it relates to the area around it determines an awful lot of what the future is like to be for your community. Remember, I said I was pragmatic, and I like to point people in the direction of things that seem like they really could happen. And we try to guide in that way, and looking at the environment gives us a better foundation for making those kinds of suggestions to the task force or to staff or to you folks yourselves, elected officials. So this is one thing that we look at as an example of how context can make a difference. This is from AARP, but it is not confined to data about older people. It's community-wide information. And it enables, you may have seen this, but if not, it enables you to compare your community on a number of items over here on the left-hand column to other communities. And you can choose out whatever communities you want. I picked Clinton and Morrison because they were they were right there. You know, they're close by. The scoring is from 0 to 100, with 50 being the average. And as you can see, that Fulton did fairly well, overall score of 54, above average. And then you can look down and see on these other items which ones that Fulton did very well on and which ones Fulton didn't do as well on. You can be very proud about opportunity, which is a lot about opportunity to get an education, opportunity to find a job, that sort of thing. So that's great that you scored so high and much higher than these other two communities. Other areas, a little bit weak, health, no weaker than your neighbors, a little bit better actually, but below average. What this does is it can help us look for the areas that we need to do some more work in, that where we need to look for some ideas to suggest to begin to bring some of these scores up and generate some conversation. Here's another example that shows Fulton within the context of the region, a little bit bigger area. Basically, this looks at socioeconomic factors like education, income, housing quality, that sort of thing. The more towards blue, the better off you are, and the more towards red, the more work there is to be done. So it isn't so much to look at Fulton by itself as to look at Fulton as it compares to the area around it. And you can see that, you know, in this particular case, we might say, well, Fulton needs to work a little more on some of these things. What put in the plan that would help raise the quality of life for Fulton residents? And it's more than that, because it improves your competitive position for attracting employment and for attracting new industry, for growing your tax base. What else? Where else do we get ideas? So one thing we like to do is look at other communities that are not necessarily in your competitive area, but that are aspirational, communities that are doing things that Fulton would like to do. Similar size, similar kind of location, rural versus urban, whatever, but it's not necessarily your neighbors. So you have particular interests in your community that we would look for other towns that perhaps are doing particularly well with these sorts of things. A thriving downtown. You have a town that's on the historic register, tremendous potential. This would be something that we would look into. You have a lot of tourism potential there on the Mississippi River, the Dutch heritage, that downtown, that nice historic downtown. We would look for communities that are doing well in attracting tourists. regional growth. We're going to look at other communities that might be competitive for economic, capturing that economic growth, and how do you compare there? Access in terms of transportation, for example, trucking or trains or whatever. Your natural resources, and specifically, how do your available buildings and sites compare to elsewhere? And finally, your policy framework. What kind of incentives do you offer? Are you a pro-growth community or a pro-conservation community, or whatever? What is the framework within which your future is going to occur? So these are some of the areas that we look to find ideas that we then work with you to flesh out to see what resonates and where we might go with them. Todd, do you want to talk a little bit about the future land use map in particular?
Sure. So one of the things that whenever a person, whether it's a property owner, a developer, a builder, or even you as elected officials, one of the first things people look at is the land use map, because it really tells you how your community views the layout of land uses throughout your community. And one thing that we like to do, particularly in small towns, is to really understand if there was different levels of growth, what does that look like and how do you quantify it? So you'll see in front of you 3 different maps going from left to right. The map on the left is very low growth. So if you really only really built new housing on just vacant properties that are already within your municipal boundary, how many new residents would that add? For example, this particular example only added 775 new residents, which seems like a lot, but some people might say that our school system can handle that or our park district can handle that. So it kind of depends on your comfortability. The middle map is more intermediate, so you start to add a little bit more residential growth areas in areas where it seems most appropriate. And then the far right map is being a lot more aggressive, trying to figure out like what would happen if we were really pro-growth and wanted to see how much we could really build for our town. And you can really plan within, by state statute, you can plan within 1.5 miles of your municipal boundaries. So some towns try to see if they maximize all of that 1.5 mile boundary, what could they really do? But you can also think about, as Mem was saying, are you really pro-growth? Are you pro-preservation? Some communities really want to preserve open space and agricultural land. Maybe you have a lot of active farmland that you really want to preserve. So that might limit you towards being a low-growth community. So what this exercise really does is really show and quantify what residential and land use development can really look like, and then you try to find what is your preferred level of growth, and then we'll from there and find a preferred land use plan for your community. And then the next 2 slides basically talked about implementation. I know Mem had talked about this being a really key piece of the plan, just because what you really want to do is you have a plan in place once it gets adopted, but you really want to make sure that it gets used day to day by not only your staff, but also your municipal officials as well. So anytime a development proposal comes to your community or improvement, you want to really understand what can you really implement project-wise. So this particular slide shows if there are different land uses or uses that could come to your community, where are they most appropriate? For example, if a small restaurant wanted to come, or a Jersey Mike's, where is that most appropriate? That's usually going to be in your along a commercial corridor or a main corridor for that traffic volume. Or if it's a small mom and pop shop, where's that most appropriate? That would probably be downtown, or it could also be on a commercial corridor as well. So we really help you identify where those specific uses are most appropriate in your community. We look at commercial uses, industrial uses, residential uses. And industrial, we really like to think outside the box, because we know that there's stuff like warehousing and manufacturing, but there's other things that you can really put in industrial zoning that are a little more uncommon, but are emerging. For example, I know a lot of gyms, sometimes trampoline parks, and indoor youth recreational facilities are starting to make their way into industrial areas, just because of the space that it allows. So we like to explore those opportunities with communities like yours, because it really looks outside the box and really helps expand your economic development toolkit or toolbox. And then the final implementation slide here is just to, again, provide strategies and projects that you can really activate your plans so that on a day-to-day basis, your staff can look at certain projects and say, what can we do this week or this month? And if it's pursuing a grant or coordinating with your park district on a project, we really try to identify those types of strategies or projects so that you can really start to really activate this plan and use it on a day-to-day basis.
I wanted to jump in for just a minute. I understand there's been some technical difficulties and there were some things that you were not able to hear. If there were specific slides that kind of were a total miss, would you point those out?
We're going to send this along to the team afterwards as well, and everything that you see is also in the proposal. So hopefully if there's anything that was missed, we can capture that as well. But as Mim said, if you have any questions right now, let's pause for a second and see if there's any questions about the comp plan or slides. Nothing? Okay. Well, if it's okay with the group, I'm going to go through quickly the strategic planning because I know we're getting towards our end of time. I want to wrap up with sharing why this could be beneficial to do both. Again, this is all in the proposal, so please feel free to dig any deeper that you'd like to. But again, we just wanted to share a lot of the proposals that we've done. We've done a lot of strategic plans over the last few years and over the last 16 years since I've been there. So it's exciting to be working with possibly Fulton again after having done that, 15 years ago or so in my career. So these processes can go hand in hand. As I said, they can also go separately. But why I think Mim and I work well together might be the reason that everybody in that room works well together. Mim and team are very pragmatic when you're looking at land use and zoning and different things. There are a lot of rules and different things. With strategic planning, we tend to also be able to think kind of big picture and envisioning and going big, and not that Mim and team do not do that as well because they come up with some amazing ideas. But I like to share that when we're doing strategic planning, all of this is about the same thing the comp plan is about, is thinking towards the future. So I'm not going to go through each of these steps, but basically we're able to use our data collection process of focus groups and interviews, whether done separately or together, to really find out from your stakeholders what's important in Fulton and in your regional partners. We want to talk with those along the borders and see what's important as well. But ultimately, our process is about bringing together your leadership team, so your staff and your council together into one leadership workshop to really talk things through. And so that might be different than other processes that just work with councils or boards or just staff. We like to have them together because one is the implementer and one is the policy maker, and they're both important, I think, to hear from each other. So I was just going to touch on a few things and then make sure we can wrap up in time to get the group to their next kind of pieces here. But one of the main things that we do, and same as kind of Mim's team, and this helps inform it if we do these at the same time, is we want to do interviews with your city administrator, who we know is new in the process, not new to Fulton, but hearing about that from that perspective, as well as the mayor and the council members, who we also know some are new. So hearing from that group, I think, is really important, as well as your department head. So that's sort of the first piece of what we do, is really just get to know the community on that level. We also want to hear from some of your stakeholders. So that could be intergovernmental groups, that could be your business community, as Mim mentioned, whether that's tourism, whether that's local restaurants, all of the different pieces you have there, light industry. And we're able to share that information with Mim and her team as well if we're doing the process together, which I think is such a great benefit we're going to talk about. And then obviously some of your front and midline staff. You're a small but mighty group. I've worked with the group before. So that might be a focus group, but it also might be interviews depending on size. I do like to mention that if we did the processes separate for any reason, we would probably add in a resident focus group. But given the amount of intensive work that Mim does with the task force, we tend to use that information for both processes, which saves time and resources. And then lastly, here with the leadership workshop, after all of this data is collected, so we've had Mim's information if we use that process, we've had our data collection process, we bring the group together. We spend about 5 to 6 hours together over one night maybe one weekday, possibly a Saturday. Don't want to scare anyone away. That's going to be completely up to you. We just like to be flexible. And we're going to work through hearing all of this important input and then work with you as a council and staff to come up with goals that are based very wholeheartedly in the stakeholder input that you've heard. And I think that's what makes this process so important and unique, is that you start with that big funnel and you work your way down and everybody can see their fingerprints on it. And then we'll work with you again afterwards to do some goal prioritization. And ultimately, as Mim said, nothing is going to get done without some action planning. So it's really important for us to help you do implementation, action planning, to work together as a team to find out how you're going to move some of those high priority goals forward so that this doesn't sit on a shelf and not get done. So let us finish up here. I know I went through those kind of quickly, but again, lots of detail in the proposal and happy to answer any questions. But some of the questions we might get, if Eric and team have shared this with you, is to why prepare these at the same time? And I'm going to let Min jump in as well. But I want to share this with the group. I mean, I think one of the best pieces of doing these processes together, and we've been doing these now over the last 3 or 4 years concurrently, is you have them moving ahead at the same time as well. You're not necessarily having to go in 3 years and redo a plan and then in 5 years redo a plan, right? So I think that's a huge benefit. But also, we all know what it's like to get a lot of surveys or to be asked to come to a focus group or do interviews. And so it's really important, we think, to streamline that public input so you're not going to the same well for information and having that fatigue. And by having both of that data together, I think it can strengthen both of the plans because we're able to, in real time, share data with each other that we're hearing, which wouldn't happen necessarily if you did them separately, although you're still going to get great information whether you did one or the other at the same time. It tends to be more efficient. You're having one team, so there's not new onboarding and new kind of engagement every single time that you have to work this through. We also cross-reference all of our plans, so you're able to see what might work for strategic planning on that big level is really going to work for your land use planning, and how can we sort of pull our resources together and be more effective. It tends to be faster results. Our strategic plan typically takes about 8 months, comprehensive plan about 8 to 12 months. And so it tends to be quicker if you're doing them together, about a year of your time saved, as well as being more connected. So Mim or Todd, if you want to share a little bit about kind of why I think it's also important.
Well, I think you end up with 2 plans that are each stronger individually, in addition to the fact that you can use them together. Because if you do just one of these plans, you're just missing out on the information that the other one would give you. So there's things that we would learn from the strategic planning process that just aren't typically included in a comprehensive plan. And if you do the comprehensive plan along with the strategic planning process, there's things in that strategic planning process that you just don't get because they are different, but they're so complementary. So each plan is stronger for doing this together.
So I think that some of the other pieces, these are all in the proposal as well, so we don't need to necessarily get into these. I just want to share this quickly that, our idea is that doing each of these alone, it's such an amazing feat that you're even taking on, whether you decide to do a strategic plan or a comprehensive plan or both. I think you're moving the community forward, and you cannot go wrong either way. If you decide to do them together and the time frame can be cut down and it's us doing them together, we try to offer some cost savings as well so that it makes sense for you, both time and resource wise as well. So there is a little cost savings. I'd like to share that as part of this process. But again, you cannot go wrong doing either of them alone as well. So that's kind of the overall process. This is again in the proposal. We just wanted to share how well they coordinate together, that ultimately we want to be able to share and build on each other and have the final documents to you as well. We put together an alignment document at the end of this process that's going to share with you how you can move forward with both at the same time to really show where that alignment and the overview are of both of the processes, which I also think is something nice from doing them together. So I know we've taken just a little bit over the amount of time, so I'm going to kind of end on this slide and see if there's any questions for us. But, NIU really feels like a partner in your region as one of the public universities there, having worked in Fulton and just really valuing everything that you do. So we want to be here to offer that kind of high quality value. And I think that's what we really can build on. Very tailored, very, I think, important to what is happening in Fulton as well. So I'll end it there. I know we kind of finished quickly, but I want to make sure we get you to the rest of your night as well.
Anyone have any questions for Mel at all?
Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
information. It's a lot to take in, but we can look it over as we make our decision.
So I will share that I will send along the PowerPoint and just a couple page overview, because I know, as I heard, it's a lot to take in, the proposal and just in general taking this on. And so I want to share just something that might help this information. So if there's a follow-up question or sessions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. We'll let you get on with your meeting. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, Tori, do we have any communication from visitors?
We do not.
We do not. All right, I think Eric or Dan can't make it here this evening, but Eric he has the business plan.
So each council member has Mr. Dolan's business plan in front of them. I'll just read over what he has. He's seeking approval for a B1 liquor license for beer and wine sales. He's seeking a gaming license for 6 video slot machines. Dan Dolan seeks approval to remodel the final available suite at 1801 16th Avenue, Fulton, Illinois, for operation as Alana's Gaming Parlor. Dan has recently purchased a gaming parlor site in East Dubuque and has significantly increased operational consistency and sales for the site since remodeling and updates were completed in early February of '25. He seeks to utilize a similar model for aesthetics and sales as the East Dubuque site. Dan and Celeste Dolan are highly experienced in building and decorating. Only high-end building materials and thoughtful designs create a pleasant and comfortable atmosphere for both staff and guests. Gaming spaces are separated from the primary bar and seating areas to provide a feeling of peaceful privacy for either the gaming customer or the social patron. The East Dubuque site offers a wide selection of pre-made food items that are far more elevated than typical bar pizzas or dry snacks. This offering has been well received by patrons and is the direction Dan is willing to consider at the Fulton site as well. His hours of operation are planned for approximately 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday. Anticipated staffing needs would be 1 full-time manager, 3 to 4 part-time servers. A conservative projected annual revenue for food and beverage sales would be around $36,000 annually, with gaming around $100,000. Dan and Celeste Dolan are highly creative business developers and are an ideal team to create a beneficial business for the community in the city of Fulton.
Anyone have any comment?
So in other words, okay, when Dan come in, it's gonna be more of a gambling den than hamburgers and hot dogs have kind of gone out the window?
There's no drive-through mentioned there anymore.
Yeah, I just know what's right here,
Right there.
unfortunately.
Cause I know he was in before, and we gave a council for the new one, why we gave head nods to approve that, but he had drive-through hamburgers and hot dogs and fries.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah, and that might still be his overall plan, I don't know what he has here.
Yeah, because we're having a motion to approve it. No, I table it because we need to have him here to make more clarification.
Yeah, and what we would be voting on is actually whether or not we would increase a B1 liquor license. Currently, we only have 1. This would increase it to 2, an additional one for Mr. Dolan. So that is what we.
But are we voting to add one or just that we would later on add?
Tonight, you would be voting on whether at the next meeting you would be adding one, yes or no, essentially.
Yeah, Well, I can't really vote one way or another until he's here to clarify this.
Yeah, and he was gonna try and be here, it sounded like he had some issues at the airport, so he wasn't gonna make it, so.
Yeah, I understand that.
We can,
I make a motion, we table it until our next meeting.
Well, we can't do that yet until we get to.
Get to the item.
Not to that item.
you'll have to wait
This
until
is
we get down
simply his
to it.
presentation.
Yeah.
Number 7.
Cause I know as a council, we gave a head nod for him, and I'm not saying I'm not, but this is altogether different than what he presented to us, and I just wanna have clarification if
Yeah.
he's going to do what he presented to us.
Right, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that question,
Nope,
so.
I understand that.
Maybe he can attend the next meeting. Number 7, consent agenda. All items in the consent agenda will be enacted in a single motion and roll call vote. Any item may be removed upon request by the mayor or any alderman and considered individual after all the items of business on this consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any,
You can ask him if you want discussion.
do we want any discussion? All right, Tori, can you roll call, please?
Alderperson Berggraf,
Yes.
Boonstra,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Nask, Sewell,
Yes.
and Hampton,
Yes.
Wilkin.
Okay, current business, this is where we're gonna ask for a motion to approve and vote for an ordinance to approve the addition of a B1 liquor license for the city of Fulton.
I make a motion that we table this at this time. So
Support.
we can talk to him at,
Support.
Can I make a comment?
yeah,
So in my opinion, the motion here tonight is to approve the addition of a B1 liquor license for the city of Fulton. And so regardless of whether this is Dan Dolan or somebody else coming in my opinion, if I were to vote on this, I would be voting on the fact that I'm not in favor of adding another B1 after we most recently just set our number of licenses available. And I just don't feel whether it was Mr. Dolan or anybody else that I would be approving that as a yes vote. So to me, I don't need clarification from Mr. Dolan to decide that I would be voting no on this item. But if the rest of you would like clarification before we move forward, by all means, we can table it until Mr. Dolan's available. But technically, we're voting on the addition of that license, so it's not really a matter of whether we think Mr. Dolan should have the license, it's a matter of whether we want that license added or not, so it can be issued to Mr. Dolan.
Well, the way we understood it, I understood it, was that's the only way we would add it, one, if it was for Mr. Dolan, that's what I gave a head nod for. But where it reads like here, for the city of Fulton, it should be agreed to Dan Dolan.
Rebecca, can you clarify?
You're not, this council isn't approving the individual licensees, the council is approving how many licenses there are going to be. Now, Dan is in first position, so if you voted one in, he would get it, because he's in first position.
Correct. But I can't vote here because I need clarification
that's
of
why
what
I
he's
asked
going to
table.
do.
That's why I made it.
That's why, that's
table.
confusion, why we should table it and.
I just wanna make sure we understood what we were voting on.
Yeah.
It's not anything against Mr. Dolan's plan at this point.
Confusion, I think, on both. So it's motion to table, you said we can't.
You can table.
Okay.
Yep.
Terry, did you make that motion? I'll make that motion.
King and Mask.
I made it.
Second,
King and Mask.
second.
Tori, can we roll call the table, please, on number 8?
Alderperson Boonstra,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Mask,
Yes.
Sewell,
Yes.
and Hampton,
Yes.
Wilkin, Berggraf.
Yes.
Okay, number 9, motion to approve and vote on a real estate purchase agreement with Ryan Isons. It's on page 1517.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Any questions or concerns on that one?
Question on that, he's buying the road, right?
So he, right now, he owns the entire property. So what this would be is, us doing essentially a tax reimbursement for him putting the road in. And then we are essentially buying the road from him.
So the city will own that road, maintain it, snow plow and all that, okay.
Tori, can you take a roll call, please?
Alderperson King,
Yes.
Mask,
Did we get a motion?
Yes.
yes, Berggraf, Mask. Sewell,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yes.
Wilkin, Berggraf,
Yes.
Boonstra.
Yes.
Okay, number 10, motion to approve and vote on an ordinance authorizing the purchase of certain real estate. There's a new roadway in block 12, range 14, City of Fulton, page 18 and 19.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
Any discussion or questions?
This is ultimately just the ordinance to do what we just approved and I'm good.
Tori, can you take a roll call, please?
Alderperson Mask,
Yes.
Sewell,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yes.
Wilkin, Berggraf,
Yes.
Boonstra,
Yes.
King.
it. Yes.
Okay, number 11, motion to approve and vote on an ordinance amending the charges for municipal water and sewer services in Title V entitled Public Works, page 20 and 21.
Second.
Any questions?
Eric, can you give some insight into this?
Yep, so every year we do an adjustment of roughly 4%. That's what this would be. Comes out to about 26 cents per user. So it's spread across the board through Fulton, which is a very, very minimal increase. I know Sterling just increased their $16 per user. So we are very much under what other communities are, and we do take pride in keeping our water rates as low as we can and still offering a good service, so.
Well, and just for Kathy and anybody else new, we did get behind several years ago, and then they had to make that huge leap. So that's why we consistently just do it every year.
So as a plant enthusiast, what would I be looking at an increase? Just curious here.
I mean, essentially, most people fall in the $6.95 per 1,000 gallon. So, I mean, your bill's gonna be looking at roughly, at a minimum, your bill's gonna be $50.99. You know, obviously, I'm a family of four, and my bill will probably run $85 to $90 a month. So, I mean, the increase is very minimal, you know, across the board. Now, obviously, if you're a big water user, you'll probably notice it a little bit more, but
You have a fountain in your yard.
I don't, but other people do.
I do.
I do too. I'm gonna pay it.
Anyone else? Tori, roll call, please.
Alderperson King,
Yes.
Mask,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yes.
Wilkin, Berggraf,
Yes.
Boonstra,
Yes.
Sewell.
Yes.
Okay, number 12, motion to approve and vote on an ordinance amending section 131.05 of the codified ordinances of the city of Fulton captioned vehicles to be seized and impounded on page 22 and 23.
Can I get that clarified? I read it, but I didn't quite understand what.
So state statute allows us to tow vehicles when their license plates are suspended for mandatory insurance violations. What we have done is we do that, we have been towing vehicles for suspended registrations, with vehicles with no insurance. What this does is just mirrors our ordinance to mirror the state statute.
Excuse me, Shane. We had a motion by King, we need a second.
Second.
Discuss. Maybe I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
We asked the question before the motion, so.
Okay, all right, we're
We
good.
have two now.
Yep, we're good.
Any other questions? Tori, roll call, please.
Alderperson Sewell,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Mask,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yes.
Wilken, Berggraf,
Yes.
Boonstra.
Yes.
Okay, number 13 is motion to approve and vote to publish a notice of public hearing on the proposed vacation of a certain alley of the city of Fulton, Whiteside County, page 24.
So moved.
Support.
Any questions?
Just for clarification for you, this is the Brondike vacation behind his house, the land and the lots he recently purchased. So you've already discussed this once. But the procedure on a vacation is we have to publish a notice and allow the public to have comment at the next council meeting before we can pass an ordinance to actually do it.
And there's a fee that goes with it. We've already discussed it, so this is just.
So this essentially just allows us to go ahead and publish it in the paper and then we'll be good for our May 12th meeting.
Tori, roll call please.
Alderperson Boonstra,
Yes.
Sewell,
Yes.
Mask,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yes.
Wilken, Berggraf,
Yes.
Boonstra,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
All right, next we have a committee as a whole discussion. Designate check signers alley.
So we just need to have a resolution for next meeting to designate new check signers. Historically, it's been mayor, city administrator, treasurer, and 2 council members. Right now it's me, Amanda, the treasurer, Jackie, Keith, and Sue. So I figured we should add maybe Malone and like Eric.
Do you need anybody else? You're good? Okay.
Great.
As long as everyone else still wants to stay.
That's fine.
All right, Eric's gonna talk about the cannabis business fees.
So if you remember, and if you were not here, Alderperson Jackie Wilken had asked me to put together some numbers for our cannabis business fee that we charge for. And the idea was thrown around whether it'd be a flat-based fee or if we should go to a percentage, because with the percentage, it's spread across the board equally. We're not, playing favorites from, one person to the next. So I ran some numbers. So if we charge 3%, that would be 210,000. 1% would be 70,000. 1/4% is 17,500. 0.2% is 14,000, and 0.1% is 7,000. We currently charge $10,000 per license with an additional $2,000 for them to be open on Sundays. So I guess it's up to the council on whether or not they want to amend what we are charging now or keep going with what we have. We just kinda need to know so we can get it wrote in the ordinance as to.
Wasn't the confusion, Eric, about what all things we can charge for? I
So
mean,
there's 3 licenses we can charge for, which.
it's not really a license, is it? It's like a fee.
Well, so we will be charging a fee, but he has, he has a craft grower license, which that's essentially what that is down there. He has a transportation license, which allows him to transport his product throughout the state. And then he has his dispensary license, which is his building out by the fire station. So, like I said, we currently charge $10,000 with $2,000 on a Sunday. We can either leave it as is, or we can vote to change it, but I also feel like with the hemp that is sold here in town, based on what they bring in, I think a fair fee would be $1,000 based off of their sales. I think any more and you're just getting greedy, just because they don't bring in the type of sales that the dispensary does. So, kinda up to you guys on how you want to move forward with this, but these were just some numbers I was asked to provide.
So $1,000, what percentage would that be?
That isn't a percentage, I just went off a flat fee because of their sales tax information.
Can we do that? Can we charge one a flat fee and one a percentage?
Well, essentially, we can write the ordinance however, but I mean, if you wanna be fair, I think you would almost have to go to a flat fee for both. Cause obviously, you know, the dispensary is doing well, but also with that, you know, the last 2 months we've been down on our income for the dispensary, so we also have to keep that in mind that he's not bringing in the kind of funds he was 2 years ago. So.
More opening, we've always known that
Right,
that's gonna
and we
cap
knew
out.
we knew this was coming, we just didn't know how long it was gonna take to get there. It looks like we've hit that point, so we're kind of on a downward trend. But I expect that to level off here hopefully in the next few months, but to me, it just makes sense to keep it at our flat fee that we have compared to going to percentage, because I mean, it can go one way or another, and if you
Well, how
charge.
about, Eric, if we charge just a flat 15,000 for each one, and that includes the 2,000 that he's paying for Sunday, what is it? 12, yeah, 2,000.
2,000, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a council decision, I mean, that's completely up to you guys on what you wanna charge.
because what, did you find out what he grossed last year?
I'm not at liberty to say what he grossed, just, you know, that's his business, but, I mean, we're charging 10, I would suggest not jumping right to 15,000 right away, maybe make that a progressive, you know, maybe this next year it'd be 12,000, you know, just kind of.
But then we'd be at 14 because we gotta charge the extra for Sunday.
Well, we just charge that one fee, it's just a one-time. Yeah, just like the fee, the 10,000 we charge, it's just the extra 2, or you can do away with it either way, I mean. You could just include that as part of your fee structure.
So is it 8 and 2 then, Eric, is that where you're at then?
No, it's 10 and 2.
10 and 2, oh, okay.
But we only get just 2,000, just one payment of that.
You're saying that one's not.
Well, that's not an annual add-on, just one.
It's only for the dispensary.
Right, it's
and not
only
the
for, we can
transfer.
only charge the dispensary for that. Because the other one's just a warehouse, essentially.
Oh, so we can't charge him the other 2,000 for Sunday every year. We do the bars, don't we? Yeah, we do the bars.
Well, but that's just a warehouse, he can't sell it, he wholesales out of there, but we can't.
For the dispensary.
Yeah, we can charge a dispensary.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because, yeah, we currently charge them now, but we can't charge for the transportation.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm talking about the dispensary.
Yeah, we already charge that 2,000
Right.
now, on top of the 10,000 we charge. So,
Now, can we charge both of them? The medical and?
I don't think we can charge the medical at all.
No, we can't.
That's pretty
Well, that's
well,
what we started out with, it's just medical. Charge
right,
them.
and we couldn't, we've only charged the dispensary a fee, because we can't charge the medical side anything.
Well, that's what we had here first was medical, and that's what we charged, was 10,000.
We've only ever charged the actual dispensary, that started in 2023. That was the first time we ever received payment.
That shouldn't have been.
We looked it up to see what the first time we got payment, and that was 2023, after the ordinance had been put into effect.
Really?
Mm.
I thought we did the ordinance before he built. Okay.
So you're advising we go up to like 12,000 plus our $2,000 Sunday fee on the dispensary only, and then 1,000 for the bakery.
And then we would essentially approve that with the ordinance at the next meeting.
1250 and then 2,500 for the Sundays, and 1,000 over there.
Works for me.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it's ultimately up to you guys on what you feel is right to charge, but, you know, like I said, just remember that he is kind of on a downward trend with sales, which we knew was coming, and we just didn't know when.
We can review this annually, correct?
You can,
So
yeah,
then
you
we
can,
look at
yeah,
it.
you can realize he's not bringing in what, you know, we thought he was gonna bring in, and you can readjust, so. And you can go below the $10,000 if you know, if whoever felt we needed to.
Eric, no, this would be for 26, right? Because we've already charged for 25.
Well, so we charge for the 24-25 year, so this will be for year 25-26. So this will be for this upcoming budget year that starts here in a couple days.
I say 1250 and 250.
Cause we just sent them the bill at the end of March, beginning of April, so we'll charge that again this time next year with the updated fees. So yeah, I mean, it's up to you guys what you wanna put down, yeah, we just need to let Rebecca know what to draft the ordinance with.
And the three fees are the craft growing, the transportation, and the dispensary.
Correct.
And there are no other fees.
Not currently, yeah. He has the ability, he could get them, but as of right now, he does not have them.
One was his building wasn't big enough to.
So there's a cultivation and craft grower, which they're the same license, but a cultivation center is anything over 14,000 square feet. And then a craft grower is anything under 14,000 square feet. And he is only at 10,000 with this building.
And then there's an extraction license.
Infusion, you know, but as of beginning of April, he did not possess that license, so. Now, say he does come into possession of that, we can charge that as well.
So essentially, if we changed it to 12,500 and then 2,500 for the Sundays and then 1,000 for the bakery, we'd be bringing in 3,500 additional. Right? So that's 10 to, well, and the bakery would be new, so 40.
We'd be right about 41,000. With the hemp and the 2,500 for Sundays.
I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, I think that'd be okay.
So 12,500, 2,500. Okay.
1,000.
And 1,000 for.
Oh, that would be 41,000.
And would it need to be, Eric, would it need to be noted in the ordinance that the funds would be bookmarked, or would that be a separate ordinance?
Well, that doesn't have to be.
What did you mean by that, Jim?
How we had talked about using that for the new police vehicle fund?
Oh, okay.
So that would just be an internal,
I have that on the finance agenda to make note of that then.
Moving on. Eric has a city administrator report, page 25.
One thing I did want to comment, Barb France had gotten hold of me earlier today, and we talked about the flowers for downtown. The only concern that I had was in a month, we're going to be starting construction in down, through our downtown. I didn't know if we wanted to put flowers through downtown for, in just a month, they're gonna come back out. Because I'm guessing once we start moving planters, those planters are not going to survive. Maybe, fingers crossed they will, but I've seen how that works, it usually doesn't work out well. But, so do we want to put flowers in for Dutch Days, or do we want to say, we'll just wait until next year?
You have to hurry to get them up for Friday.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's up to, and Barb is volunteered to put them in. Obviously, I don't want her to waste time and money on putting them in, and then in a month, we, take them right back out. So
You know what this cost is?
be less than $150.
Say, would Five Star wanna put any flowers on display down here for the weekend and then take them back?
Maybe.
There's so many people on Main Street. That day that I don't know if the flowers are gonna be as obvious as they would be on another day. If we were gonna do it, I think people would appreciate them more on another day than.
Well, next year, we can plan them and then we don't have to worry about anything, but it's just this year with construction coming up, is it worth, putting the money into it and her time into it, and then in a month, we're taking right back out. So, just kinda interested if if we wanna see it, we can, if everybody thinks it's not.
Well, certainly the money is not a factor. but-
No, in that part of
If
it
she's
wasn't-
willing to do it, then let's do it, yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
What?
What's your opinion
What is my what?
on it? What's your opinion for that month?
Well, I just think
the more we show off our downtown, and we're never gonna have more people here than we are at Dutch Days, the better it is. Just looking at pots of weeds all along Main Street is not a good impression for people. Not when you go to Leclerc, and you go to Princeton, and you go to a lot of these other cities, DeWitt. They are beautiful because of the flowers. And I don't care if I don't have more work, believe me, because I got plenty of things to do, but I said I would be willing. David and I did them all for the last couple of years, and we water them all week, and we plant them, and we weed them, and we had to kick a gal out that was using it for an ashtray.
Well, I like your plan, you know, people
Yeah.
see it, but if you wouldn't be upset then if a month from now that.
Hey, we cry when they pull them out in October, because they're just really looking good.
So, I don't have a problem with
I don't have a
that, if she's willing to do it.
If she's willing to do it and not gonna get mad. If we,
Yeah, so
when we
which
pull them out in a
we're,
month.
I mean, we are going to.
And I don't charge you $1,000, it's like gonna be $150, and we've never gotten paid for 2 years already, which we don't care. But I said, I can do a good job for like $150, I can get enough flowers to make everything look nice, and, you know.
Just put, baskets,
Oh,
just
yeah,
in
you're
mine,
really
because
good
I'll
with
just
the
take them all
template.
back to my house.
Thanks, Barb.
Maybe it'd be nice if we put a couple of them planters over there in that empty lot, all around there, and they could be flowered up.
Well, I have a feeling that lot is gonna end up with a lot of construction equipment here.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Barb, and
Yep, thank
Dave
you
for
for
doing
doing
that.
Thanks for doing that.
Thank you, we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll even put some in front of your place, but you know what you're gonna do? Water.
Was that, are you good, Eric? Terry, do you have a public safety committee report?
Yeah, so we met, back on the 14th. Mark brought up, item number 1, there was 7th Street parking issues between 10th and 12th Avenues. We voted on that a little over a year ago. That is being worked on between 11th Avenue and 13th Avenue to get those signs up there. It was just somebody on the corner who was having issues. Neighbor across the street has like 6, 7 vehicles and rotates them through there, and they don't have much of a place to park, so. She's got a child and a van full of groceries and not a real good way to get into her house, so.
No good way to get it.
So I don't know, you hate to say, hey, let's have assigned parking, but, I don't know if we can, people on 10th Avenue, if we could do at least, hey, this house gets one spot on this street. I don't know if we can do a parking permit or something there along
Do we
that.
currently have an ordinance for how many vehicles a residents can have? I mean, can they have 4 or 5 vehicles sitting out on Main Street?
No, you can have as
Or
many
on the-
vehicles as
on
you
the public-
want.
huh?
There's no ordinance on how many vehicles a person can.
So, they have like 4 or 5 vehicles and they take up all the parking places on, so.
As long as they move every 72 hours, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can say.
I said the only other option, it would be kind of like we brought up, you'd have to have an ordinance of permitted parking. And you have to draft a whole new ordinance on permitted parking, and then people would be able to apply for the permits.
It came into question because we didn't follow through on the other 2 streets, and now we're going to do that, right? That was it, there's no parking on that side of the street in just 1 block, and then the other 2 blocks had the same problem, that an emergency vehicle couldn't get through, but they were continuing to park on both sides. That's how the issue surfaced.
So I noticed one of the signs says, no parking except during church activity, so I don't know if that's causing some confusion as well.
Is that on 7th Street?
That's on 12th Avenue, I think.
Is it? I guess I would have to drive by and look at it.
Yeah. it's on
Well,
12th.
12th Avenue, if that's our ordinance, then the same
Well,
thing.
just because there's a sign up doesn't mean we necessarily approved it.
Right.
That could have been put in.
Especially with what it says.
Yeah, that
City
is
sign.
not sound
I
like.
drove down 12th Avenue yesterday, and
You're not getting down 12th
in
Avenue.
front of the Catholic church there, you are not getting an ambulance through there over a fire.
I asked Terry to go through there because people complain about that, and you
Yeah.
can't get a vehicle through
Yeah,
there either.
if that sign is there, it was not permitted by the city.
Okay, cause I thought that was unique, cause it doesn't say on the next block at the other church, it just, it's
Yeah,
right there, like,
I guess I was unaware that sign existed.
yeah.
We send Public Works to take it down?
Well, we'll go over and investigate it tomorrow, just, to see if we can figure out, cause most of ours have something that says, Fulton Public Works on it, but if it doesn't, then that says, and any sign we put up, there's supposed to be an ordinance attached to it, so.
So we'll continue to work on that, and I don't know, looking at permanent parking, if that's something that we can do along the major thoroughfares of Fulton.
I kinda like that idea. The permit.
Well, at least give the people that live around the one spot that's theirs,
They count on.
Yeah.
it's always open.
And it wouldn't cost them anything, I mean, it would just be,
Right.
you're allotted this spot.
At least one spot, it's not fair that, they
Right.
can't park there because somebody else wants to have a bunch of vehicles, so. And there, I'm sure there's others.
Oh, yeah.
Item number 2 is for, kind of council discussion. It was brought up, Barb actually had a picture of this happening downtown. These longer trucks, they are pulling up on the curb onto the sidewalk to get the back of the truck out of the traffic lane. Mainly during lunch hour, and possibly during dinner time downtown.
And I just see it more frequently. I mean, it used to be a pretty isolated thing, but on any given day, you can find a truck that is completely pulled right up onto the sidewalk. So the sidewalk is narrower, but you also have pedestrians walking along, and if you had a child who just got away from you for a few minutes, and so I just thought it merited us thinking about it and discussing it, especially when we're getting new sidewalks. Terry assured me that the sidewalks are so tough that they can take it, that they won't crack and
Yeah,
crumble underneath it.
They'll be heavy duty enough they can withstand, I mean, not that I wanna see somebody's car parked on them, but they'll be able to withstand
I
that.
think once we get the street done,
Yeah.
the one way, you're gonna see that stop. Right. Cause there's more room for the vehicles.
But in the meantime, I mean, if we had a date that we could say that's when that's gonna happen, but we don't. I just thought everybody should think about it and talk about it and see what you think.
Is there a way that we can designate where they can park? It's kind of hard.
I mean, that would be a Chad.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to go through and put new signage all downtown, which, why are you gonna spend all the money to put all new signage downtown when it's gonna get taken out? And then, again, you'd have to draft an ordinance that says compact car parking only. I mean, you'd have to get pretty specific on the ordinance and signage.
Cause if you had two of them trucks parked and you're in the middle,
It's a
hard.
pain in the butt,
You're
for
way
sure.
out there on the other lane to
Yeah,
try to.
it's, and I see that's why the trucks are pulling, usually like their right front tire up on there to try to get more room, but yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Cause I mean, like, we got parallel on one side, if we say they have to park on that side.
And that'll be the nice thing with changing the direction of our downtown, then you don't have to worry about the cross traffic, everybody's going the same direction. So that'll alleviate a lot of that next year, but unfortunately this year, we're still going to have to.
It's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
And we want people at lunch to.
Yeah, we do, we want them, we don't wanna discourage them from not coming.
And I give them credit for pulling on one, I think.
Yeah.
Making it in the street. At least they're being courteous enough to do that.
Item number 3, Chief Hermes reported, staffing numbers are being filled at a very clip. Kind of let the chief kind of talk on that.
Okay, well, we have some really good news to announce. We are gonna be the first agency in Whiteside County that is completely staffed here in the next 2 weeks.
Good job, chief.
We went from being down to a skeleton crew, Dwayne and Jeremy and Ben, to being 9 officers strong. We will have myself, a deputy chief, which we are hiring the chief of police from Morrison. Kevin Sengson will be coming to us as a deputy chief. And then Officer Corey Flack that used to work here is be returning. And he will be our 9th officer, and we're also taking him from the city of Morrison to come back here. So we are gonna be in great shape, and
I don't think Morrison likes us.
Morrison is not very happy, but
They've done it to us.
But they've done it, I can't say nothing, I left here and went to Morrison, but I came back, so.
Good job.
No, we're in good shape, so I told the council, I told the personnel committee when I was first hired, I said, I'll have it done in 6 months, and I'm pretty proud to say I did it before. So, but that is a lot because of you guys, again, the support of the council and taking care of the guys as far as their contract, equipment, everything you guys have done, in support of the police department, again, passing the ordinance for, hopefully we get this cannabis thing to replace vehicles, the administrative penalty ordinance that we've gotten taken care of. Guys are happy, and I had a guy call me today, another 20-year copper, said he was looking for a job, like I could hire more. I mean, Fulton has become the place where people wanna come work now, and it's really good, so we're striving to be where everybody wants to be. So I'm happy, and that's because of you guys. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm hoping to have those 2 new officers at our next meeting, May 12th at 11:30, so as long as schedules allow that. So hopefully do a little meet and greet with those guys. May 12th at 11:30.
All right, Barb, do you have a historical society report?
Yes, here's our monthly report that we always report to you, and that's by a written agreement that we have that we share with you. This is money that comes to the Fulton Historical Society to maintain the property. This is money that the Martins donated, it's been invested, and so we get the interest off that. The Fulton Historical Society is a separate organization entity, so we keep these, we have 2 separate treasurers, and so just for those of you who are just new, you'll see this every month, every penny that we spend of city money. We report. Anytime we want to do something out of the ordinary bills, we come and discuss it with you first. And we just talked recently at our last meeting about a couple of things that we want to do. In fact, Eric, by our agreement, the city, or the public safety person comes to the house and meets with us, and we talk about the house and grounds. So we'll ask Logan to come now, because Eric was there, and our driveway really needs to be repaired. It's dangerous to walk up onto our property, so we want to talk. It's not a very long driveway. And then our sidewalk there that goes down there, if we got somebody pouring the concrete, we'd probably like part of that city sidewalk replaced as well. It's city-owned property. But we just have a couple things coming up, so we'll meet with Logan and get his opinion, and then we'll come back, because those are out of our typical monthly expenses.
Okay.
We just had a great program yesterday, and all is well there. And we're celebrating our 25th anniversary too, but we're gonna wait until fall, because the windmills is coming up, and that's the big thing.
Thank you.
Can I speak on finance committee real quick?
Sure.
I apologize, I did not get the finance committee meeting minutes into this packet, so I will provide them to Alex to add it to the next packet. But basically, we met on April 10th, and Eric just shared with us the budget for the end of the fiscal year, 1 month shy, of course. And we were looking good, we're in the positive, which was an unexpected surprise due to the fact that we had the chamber remodel that we weren't expecting, and then obviously all the staffing restructuring that we had to do. So we ended the year well. So we'll have that provided for you in the next packet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. That's kind of nice to hear.
It was a pleasant surprise, yes.
Yes, it was.
Okay, at this time, I need a motion to go into closed session for discussion of personnel, litigation, or property.
Can I just have a quick minute before everybody leaves the room? I just brought those pictures in for everybody to see tonight because I thought Ryan was gonna be here. I told him I'd get these pictures to him, and then Eric told me he couldn't be here tonight. But that's the high school building that was up on the property that he's building his townhouses. And then alongside of it is a mansion that was built in Fulton in 1866. I put the article in the paper because it became the home ec building at one time. And so I put the picture in the paper that has the home ec students that were there. And I asked people to identify if they recognize anybody who was there, so when he's selling his business, he can say such and such and such and such. So maybe somebody's gonna buy one of his townhouses and their grandma's on this picture. So I told him I would share all this for his publicity material, but it was a big mansion right up on the hill. So I just wanted to share that. And I'll just share that with him separately since he's not here tonight.
Thanks, Bonnie.
All right, if everyone could step out except mayor, council, city clerk, city administrator, city